It is day one of this Black History series, and I am already switching shit up. So originally, I was gonna come at y'all, and I had this post, and it was about how we built our own. That's our tradition, and it's true, and that's still good history. But I want to take a risk here, and actually want to do something that's having me singing Nina Simone right now. God, please don't let me be misunderstood. A prevalent story that's going on today that all of us know about is like people are being priced out of their homes. Money is a big old concern for a whole lot of people. Stuff is getting really expensive, and especially housing. So one point that I wanted to make on that was like the importance of all of us to give what you can. I make it my own personal mission to give 10, because I borrowed it from the church when I used to go to church. 10% of whatever I make, I'm either donate it to a person who's in need, or I'm gonna donate it to an organization who's doing some work that I believe in. A second role, something that I love about my particular position as a historian, is that I don't have to tell you. I don't like telling nobody what they need to do, what you should do. Instead, I get to tell you what happened, and you can draw your own conclusions. So when I was writing Craig T, I interviewed Buku, but I think the book has about 21 elders, Black elders over the age of 80 that I interviewed here in Savannah. And some of the stories I really wanted to focus on was survivability. How did y'all survive? Especially them hard times. Some of the ones that we already know about include like hand-me-downs. You know what I'm saying? Today, what does that look like? That look like consignment shops, things like that. One pot meal, the meals that stretch and last. We have to really look at those things. They gardened. That was a really another big one, growing your own food. And a lot of them would even raise, they might have 2 chickens in the backyard or something like that, because, and that might not be your thing, you know what I'm saying? But I'm just pointing out some ways that it works, because like me personally, I have plants. Do I have any edible? I don't have any edible plants. I don't have any livestock at all. But I do my best to support those who do, because I also know the health benefits, as the health aspect of that too. And if things go wrong, them grocery store shelves go empty, I know where to go to still get me some food. At times too, like it's a farm out here, the Promised Land. You can go out there, and it's in Port Wentworth, Georgia, and you might be familiar with some too. Go to your farmers market and have some conversations with them people. See where their farms are. But in their farm, particularly, right now you can take a trash bag, fill up a trash bag with mustards, turnips, collards, I want to say it's rutabagas, and all kind of different produce. And I think it's $10. But you fill up your whole trash bag. So just looking at those ways that our elders and our ancestors did it to determine what worked and how we might integrate those things to today. Another point that I wanted to make is to pay attention to terminology, to language. The language is going to change, it's going to evolve, but sometimes the system of it is remaining the same. So I think about Assata Shakur in her autobiography, and she was talking about how like when she was in prison, they brought her like this big old bucket of green beans and told her she had to snap them, and she was like, I ain't doing nothing for no money. She said, I'm not a slave. Oh, she also told them her constitutional right, and they said, well, you need to go back and reread it. She went back and reread it, and she saw that they were right. So slavery still exists, just not the way that we once upon a time thought it was, and it's not using the same name. It doesn't go by the name slavery anymore. Sharecropping. Miss Mady Underwood in the book in Crack Teach, she was telling me about her family was sharecroppers, and the one thing that stood out about that to me was she's saying every year we owed more and more. Our debt got bigger and bigger and bigger to want to all over again. It's like they were owning us again like slaves. We don't call it sharecropping no more. But do we not still have a system of debt to where people are owing more and more and more every year? I know for sure my student loan debt is doing that. You know what I'm saying? So looking at those things and saying like, I have to disrupt this pattern, because I can't do it no more. But in order to disrupt the pattern, we have to look at what it is. And as Black people who were forced into this country, and whether we immigrated here voluntarily or we were forced here through the transatlantic slave trade, most of us all over the world by this point have adopted their value systems of material wants, increasingly want. Like we always want more. The house that we live in right now is perfectly fine, but I want a bigger house. So I don't want us to critique our desires, but to question them, and to question the necessity of it, and to question if that turn of events happened to us, what does that look like financially for us? You know what I mean? So like, even if I can afford that bigger home now, if something were to happen and I lost my voice or I lost my ability to continue writing books, which is how I make my money, is that going to affect my survivability? You know, Miss Carolyn Dowles, she said that she moved out from her sister into her own home when she was in her 30s. Although she was a teacher and she had a college degree and all of these things, it was so that she could really afford her home. She decorated her rooms one at a time, one piece of furniture at a time. You know what I'm saying? Because she was actually talking about, I think she said, her grandniece at the time who had just bought a house and just put all that furniture on credit so she can have a comfortable house. You know what I'm saying? To live in. And so once again, it's not to critique what you want to do, but to question it. Now think about the Great Migration. So many of us have had people that moved from the South out to like California, New York, New Jersey, Philly, Ohio, Illinois, etc. And we went up there. We stayed with family when we got there. And that was uncomfortable on both ends. I'm pretty sure it wasn't easy saying, hey, can me and my 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 kids come live with you for a little while until we get on our feet. You know what I mean? And on being on the other end of that too, saying, yeah, y'all, y'all can come stay with me until you get on your feet. So just looking at comfortability, access to things, because access shouldn't always equate to yes right now. And my last nudge is for us to pay more attention to poverty as a problem to all of us, to look at Huey P. Newton, for example, who's one of the co-founders of the Black Panther Party. And we know like they were super radical in saying like even white people ain't got no business being a part of black organizations. We don't want the government involved in what we doing over here. We building for our own. We doing for our own. We don't want nothing from them. Before he died, he actually changed up a lot of his positions. He ran for office. A lot of people don't know that. And he did. He actually, in the community, they serve Asians, white people, Hispanic, Latinas, etc. You know what I'm saying? Because they knew that was a bigger problem. Poverty. MLK had the very much so same, if we think about his poor people campaign, we don't talk about that a lot. We talk about him holding hands, white kids and black kids holding hands, being on the mountaintop, having a dream, but we don't talk about so much so his poor people campaign. And I'm going to talk about more of that too in these history lessons that you'll be getting, and I promise all of them won't have long videos like this. We have started to shed more light on MLK, saying that, you know, with his movement of integration, he feared that he might have integrated us into a burning house. I'm going to add some more to it here. I'm afraid that America has lost the moral vision she may have had. And I'm afraid that even as we integrate, we're walking into a place that does not understand that this nation needs to be deeply concerned with the plight of the poor and disenfranchised. Until we commit ourselves to ensuring that the underclass is given justice and opportunity, we will continue to perpetuate the anger and violence that tears the soul of this nation. I fear I am integrating my people into a burning house. He was having a conversation with Harry Belafonte that's who he was talking to when he said this. And Harry's like, well, what do we do about it? And MLK was like, well, we become the firemen. We do not stand by and let the house burn. So that's the full circle moral of the story. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you feel called to continue to protest the injustice of displacement, but we all have a responsibility to pivot. We got to make some different decisions in terms of how we spending our money, how we looking out for each other. Black history ain't just fun facts. That shit is survivability. It teaches us how to make sure we good as a people and as a person too. You know what I'm saying? That's all I'm saying.